Welcome to the Did You Know Show. My name is Brian Green, and today's show is sponsored by Always Best Care Senior Services. We provide in-home care primarily to seniors, but if you're somebody that has had a hip or knee replacement, a back injury, if you're recovering from a stroke or battling cancer, please think about Always Best Care first. We are the agency that never sleeps. What's going on, Philadelphia? How you doing out there in that heat? I tell you what, I rode over here from South Philadelphia, from Broad and Federal, just over here to the studios over here with WURD, and it took 15 minutes to get the air conditioner going on. I guess I got to get a new car or something. But I felt like I was in the sauna. I know I lost 5 pounds. How about you? What are you doing out there? Hey, do the kids still play hide and go seek? I guess they can't play hide and go seek. Or do the young women still jump rope and play jacks? You know, are they sitting around playing Fortnite? I don't know. I don't know. Let's leave it there. Today is July 25th. This is Emmett Lewis Till's birthday. He was born July 25th, 1941. Those that don't know, Emmett Till was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, and during his summer vacation in August of 1955, he was visiting relatives near Moni in the Mississippi Delta region. He spoke to a 21-year-old Carolyn Bryant, the white married proprietor of a small grocery store there. Although what happened at the store is a matter of a dispute, Till was accused of flirting or whistling at Bryant. In 1955, Bryant had testified that Till made physical and verbal advances. The jury did not hear Bryant's testimony due to the judge ruling it inadmissible. Decades later, Bryant disclosed that she had fabricated part of her testimony regarding her interaction with Till, specifically the portion where she accused Till of grabbing her wrist and uttering obscenities. That part's not true, Bryant stated in a 2000 interview with the historian Timothy Tyson. So, I could go on, but, if you're looking for a quick history lesson, Google it. We Google everything else. Emmett Till. And his mother had Jet magazine show the open casket of his body to show the world at that point what was really going on. So, you fast forward to now, unfortunately, you see so much going on in HD almost. 8 minutes, 9 minutes of somebody, getting killed and being suffocated to death on the street. Not going to go away from there. All right, so today's day is, I'm really excited. I've been waiting for this guest to come on for such a long time. He's a consummate professional. I've seen him change chairs. onWURD has served as the Pennsylvania Department of Age and Cultural Diversity Advisory Council, PCA Care Connections, the Bucks County Commissioner's Senior Task Force, and General Appreciation Bucks County. President of Bucks County Foundation on Aging and Innovations Home Care. He's the board secretary and Southeast Regional Representative for the Pennsylvania Association of Areas on Aging, P for 4. He's a member of the Bucks County Area and Aging Cultural Diversity Committee, the National Association of Area Agents on Aging, and the United Way of Greater Philadelphia and Southern New Jersey Vision Council. Naja received a bachelor's degree in psychology from Morehouse and an MBA from Drexel University. He is currently a doctoral candidate in business administration at Temple University. He is a 2010 graduate at the American Society of Aging New Ventures and Leadership Program. And guess what? As the president and CEO of the Philadelphia Corporation for Aging, which is PCA in Philadelphia, Naja is an aging network leader who is passionate about strategic planning, project management, and process improvement. He was hired as the Chief Strategy Officer in August 2017 to lead the agency's planning development. Prior to coming to PCA, Naja had worked in the Bucks County Area Aging since 2002, serving as the agency director since 2011. And so I watched Naja kind of change chairs from his part of career in Bucks County. I started my business in 2010. But him, along with Lois Tobin, and shout out to Janice Swank up in Bucks County, really learned me about all the ins and outs of home care and where to get resources, and more importantly, where to get support and really to learn the rules and that kind of thing. Please welcome to my show, Mr. onWURD. Naja, how you doing today?
Hey, Brian, how are you? Good to be with you today. Thank you so much.
I am so excited to have you on the show, and I've been looking forward to it. And you are a breath of fresh air. We're really excited to have you down at PCA. And for my callers and listeners that are not familiar with the Philadelphia Corporation for Aging, can you tell us a little bit about the organization?
I certainly can. But first, I wanted to just thank you for reminding your listeners of Emmett Till's of Emmett Till and the history related to that court case, because I certainly have my Emmett Till shirt on today. So thank you for that.
Right on.
But so going back to your question, to make people familiar with the Philadelphia Corporation for Aging, the people who do not know us, we are the official area agency on aging for the city of Philadelphia. We are one of 52 in the state of Pennsylvania, but you can find an area agency on aging anywhere in the country. There's over 600 of us. It really started with the Older Americans Act of 1965, which was really the foundation for supports and services for older adults. And it not only shaped the programs that would be put in place for older adults, but it allocated funding, as well as it created the need for there to be federal, state, and local offices that would administer these programs, like the area agencies on aging. So I will say that Pennsylvania is really in a unique situation compared to other states, because we're the only state that dedicates 100% of our lottery funds to supporting older adults.
Okay.
And in addition to supporting the area agencies on aging, the lottery also supports written property tax rebate, the PACE program, which is prescription meds, and then the shared ride program through transportation. I'd say that generally all area agencies on aging, including PCA, follow three main paths. It's supporting older adults that want to stay connected to the community. That'd be programs like senior centers, volunteer opportunities, senior employment, and health and wellness programs. Then I'll jump to that middle path, supporting older adults that really need additional supports to stay safe in the community. That's where we partner with home care agencies, adult daycares, medical equipment and supply agencies, and emergency response providers. And we send our care managers and service coordinators out to do a comprehensive assessment to really find out what the needs are in the home that we could support that individual with. And then that last path is advocacy and protection. Programs like ensuring people have appropriate legal assistance and counseling, and the ombudsman program if they have long-term care complaints. And then, of course, definitely our older adult protective services unit to make sure people live free from abuse, neglect, financial exploitation, and abandonment. So at PCA, we have more than 20 programs and serve over 140,000 consumers across all of our programs annually. That's a little bit about PCA.
So the PCA is, and correct me if I'm wrong, and you know, you guys are the largest area agent in Pennsylvania. Is that correct?
That is correct. We're the largest in the state of Pennsylvania and one of the largest in the country. I'd say about majority of the area agencies on aging do report to county commissioners. That's about 70% roughly. About 30% are like PCA, and we are nonprofits.
So let's go back for a little bit. You know, I gave Morehouse a shout out there, and you're Drexel, and now you're at TU. And look, I'm going to sneak in the conversation. I think Morehouse did. I know Virginia State did. We canceled our homecoming, man. The band down there, man. Okay, gotta focus. So tell me about your path to PCA. Come on, let's have it.
So, as you mentioned, I graduated from Morehouse College. Social services is in the blood, following my mom's footsteps. I got a degree in psychology, and when I graduated, I started initially working with behavioral health consumers, and then working with children. And I was drawn to really supporting older adults, and I'd attribute that to the relationship that I had with my grandmother. And when her health started failing, and even though I worked in social services, I really didn't have resources at my fingertips that I could put right in front of her when she needed them. So when she passed, I said never again would I be in a situation where an older adult loved one of mine needed supports, and I couldn't put those supports in front of them. So that's when I transitioned and started working with older adults full-time. As you mentioned, I started off at the Bucks County Area Agency on Aging full-time, and then was fortunate to rise to the rank after starting on the clinical side. My boss at the time, Brian Duke, promoted me to Deputy Director of Administration and Finance, because I was, from the clinical side, then drawn to that admin side of the agency. And when Brian Duke went on to become the Secretary of Aging for the state, I was fortunately promoted to the agency's director. And then I served as the agency director until I came to PCA as the chief strategy officer. And as you mentioned, just back in April, the board promoted me to the president and CEO of PCA. So I've been very fortunate.
So shout out to Holly Lanes, your predecessor. She was a force to be reckoned with. She was definitely in the weeds and that kind of thing. And shout out to your whole team over there. What people don't realize, I think, when I think about PCA, it's like a hidden jewel right there on Broad Street, 642 North Broad Street to be exact. And there's so many different resources that you connect people to. Does PCA provide all services in-house, or do you contract with organizations, Naja?
I would say we do provide a lot of services in-house, but we contract with a lot of collaborative partners. There's no way we could do all of it that we do in the community if it weren't for our stakeholders and collaborative partners. That would be services like home care and adult day services and the emergency response buttons that I mentioned. Where the AAAs, we provide that service coordination and provide a lot of care management and service coordination in-house. A lot of the direct care services we do contract with other providers for. So we definitely couldn't do it by ourselves. It's definitely a collaboration to get making sure that we're connecting with great community partners.
So different organizations and programs identify the age of an older adult differently. How does PCA identify older adults?
Well, I'll go back to that Older Americans Act that I mentioned, the Older Americans Act of 1965, where majority of the programs in the Older Americans Act identify an older adult as age 60. There are some of our programs that slightly have different requirements, but generally most of our programs start at age 60.
Okay. And so I'm just, sitting here. I know how many people I have to manage on a day-to-day basis, and I'm thinking about you. How would you describe your leadership style? Because you have a very diverse situation going on with the city of Philadelphia.
Oh, absolutely. I love the diversity in Philadelphia, and that's actually one of the things that I think I include in my leadership style, making sure that we meet the diverse needs of the consumers in the city of Philadelphia. That's a part of my DNA, so I really consider that as one of the gems in my leadership style as well, focusing on diversity. I would say 4 others for me, though. Listen first and speak after.
Okay.
Next would be networking and collaborating are essential. You can't do the job by yourself. You want to make sure you're bringing in the right internal and external subject matter experts to really support you through your journey. Next, I'd say no matter where you are in your career, you definitely want to identify those respected leaders and mentors to always bounce ideas off of. And last, I'd say even when you're doing a good job, you really want to assess the status of your agency, your programs, figure out how, even though you're doing a good job, how can you do it better next time? So you want to dust that off, see what lessons you learn, strive for exceptional customer experiences and innovative ways to do business. So I'd say those 5 would probably be key for me.
Wow. And so if you just tuned in, my name is Brian Green, the host of the Did You Know Show, and today's guest is Naja Orr. He's the president and CEO of PCA, Philadelphia Corporation of Agent, and we're relearning all about what's going on. I would be remiss if I did not give a shout out to Louis Colbert, who is one of our mentors and a strong connection to area and agent. And I think about people like Holly, your predecessor, and Lois Tobin and Laura DeHope, and all the people over the years that continually drop off, and some other folks over in ODP, Office of Developmental Programs. Naja, we're losing a whole generation to retirement, man. And like watching you, I'm cheering you on, but I'm also thinking to myself, they have passed the baton on to us. And I'm just, really cheering you on and just watching and just, hoping and feeling the best. But I want to shout out to Mr. Louis Colbert, who is the Senior Vice President of Operations over at the PCA. And you guys did a nice write-up on him in your publication, the PCA Update. And I'm reading this, and I had to come to terms with the fact that he is retiring. And that just gets on my nerves to even say it, but I have to acknowledge it. But
I haven't accepted it either.
I can't even, deal with it. It's kind of like the Dell. Like in my head, I'm still having the Dell concert series in my head. Every Thursday, I'm playing music
Yes.
to my favorite concert and that kind of a deal. But, you know, strangely, we're in strange times, obviously. And, when I think about your leadership style, and I think about what I have to go through as a leader, I spend quite a bit of time motivating people and re-engaging them. There's a lot of room for people to be uneasy, and a lot of times you got to watch people's mental health. Work-life balance is different. We're talking about, now the big topic of discussion is the kids going back to school. But, when you have an organization like PCA, which is essential, you still have to deal with daycare and what your kid's going to do and that kind of a deal. How has the pandemic impacted PCA and the consumers you serve?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said we are an agency that has been designated as providing essential services. So I'll also give a shout out to the staff at the agency, because if it were not for them, we definitely couldn't be as successful as we are. Even through a global pandemic, they've been very nimble to switch gears and really follow the guidance that the state has given us. So we really haven't missed a beat because of just the tremendous team at PCA. So the things that we have been able to kind of switch gears on, the state has really allowed us to move from providing face-to-face assessments at this time, as the state was in that red, yellow, and now into the green phase. And as you know, Philadelphia is in this hybrid green. So we're moving a little bit slower because of the numbers that we're seeing in Philadelphia. So we've been able to move on from doing face-to-face visits to mostly virtual phone assessments.
Okay.
The agency, of course, has had to continue to make sure that we're buying PPE, making sure we have masks and gloves and wipes for the staff, and doing appropriate cleanings, and encouraging that that we're doing social distancing in the office. We've of course had to suspend all travel, so no conferences and things like that, and then making sure that we do whatever we can to make sure people can still work effective and efficiently while they're remote. And then one of the key things, we want to make sure that while people are at their stay-at-home orders, we're just reminding people to stay in touch with that older adult. If it's an older adult loved one that you have, if you can't see them face-to-face, we ask people to pick up the phone or do a virtual conference, whether it's through your iPhone, FaceTiming or something. Just stay in touch with that older adult so we can make sure that if there's any supports that they need, we are here to help you.
Naja, I would be remiss, and shout out to all of the listeners that are calling, and we're both of you and I are talkers, but people are calling in and asking for the contact information, website, and the hours of operation.
Sure. So you can always reach us at 215-765-9040. That's our helpline. I'll say that again, 215-765-9040. Or you can reach us online at pcacares.org. So always feel free to reach out to us, whether it's phone or email to connect with us. But you could always reach us. We're generally open from the hours of 8 a.m. till about 6 o'clock p.m.
Okay. And for those folks with the face-to-face, this is a kind of common question I think a lot of the consumers are asking. You can still contact your service coordination company to advocate for increased hours or, to get instruction. And I guess a couple of questions that I get, I want to break it into two categories. One is, what is the relationship, and this is off script, what is the relationship with PCA and the County Assistance Office right now, Naja?
Well, we definitely have to have a very strong relationship, and I would say that a lot of the work that we do is collaborating with that County Assistance Office, making sure that the paperwork that is needed for programs to assess people to determine if they are financially eligible for certain programs that we provide. So one of those programs would be the former Aging Waiver Program, which is now Community Health Choices. We have part of the role, but the County Assistance Office has a big part of it as well. Our part is, of course, doing the initial assessment, making sure people are medically appropriate for the Community Health Choices, and then county assistance office has a big role too, doing that financial eligibility, making sure that people are financially eligible. And once those two pieces are done, then they can be connected to their enrollment agency, which then would connect them to the service coordinators, and then put those home care and adult day services and all those other good services that people need to stay safe in the community, put those in place for people.
Okay. And I guess right now you guys have suspended the Meals on Wheels program, correct?
So we actually have transitioned a bit.
Okay.
So now we are still providing nutrition services for older adults. Instead of the congregate meal program, it's transitioned to grab and goes. So as you know, the senior centers right now had to close for their programming. They've had to suspend their programs, but they focused on grab and goes, and they're providing even more grab and goes now than we did initially when they were providing congregate meals for people who could get to the centers. Also, for those individuals that are homebound or can't get to the centers, we also do still provide home delivered meals. So now we just had to transition a bit, making sure that we're practicing social distancing, but we're actually providing more meals now than we were prior to the pandemic, and continuously focusing on food insecurity.
Naja Orr, President and CEO of Philadelphia Corporation of Aging. We've heard federal, state, and local office express concerns about their budgets. How has the budget crisis, which is further impacted by the pandemic, of course, affected your office? So,
fortunately, we know that the Older Americans Act was recently reauthorized, so those federal dollars are still coming to us. We're fortunate. The unfortunate part is most of the bigger pots of the Older Americans Act funding has been flat funded, and a lot of the state funding has been flat funded for many years as well. So as we continue to see increases in expenses, of course, it costs more dollars to deliver those meals and to provide home care and adult day services. The dollars that we have available to support those services are stretched more thin. I did mention that the state lottery fund we're the only state that has the lottery proceeds to support 100% of the older adults in the community. However, it's our largest pot of money. It's protected by legislation, but as I mentioned, if it's flat funded, then it just really puts us in a position where we want to make sure that we're doing our best to advocate for additional dollars and those dollars to support the growth in the older adult population. So last I'd mention would be COVID-19, of course, has increased our expenses. So we're seeing increased expenses as it relates to meals. As I mentioned, meals are going up. We're providing more meals now and making sure that we have the necessary PPEs, those masks and gloves for staff to go out on.
Wow. If you just tuned in, my name is Brian Green. I'm the host of the Did You Know Show. The Did You Know Show is centered around connecting individuals to home, community, and business resources that you ordinarily wouldn't know about. Today, we have the distinct pleasure of having my friend and my comrade and my fellow and co-speaker. He travels and he speaks, motivational speaker at the American Society of Aging. I could go on and on and on about how great of a person he is, because I know him personally, and I'm just so happy to see a good person that really does have a balance, really in a real strong leadership position, and somebody of color that is just really showing and setting the bar for all of us to follow. All right, listen. I'm saying it from the bottom of my heart. I really mean it.
I do know that, and those feelings are mutual.
So let's take a quick break. Let's go back a little bit to the 80s and play some Joyce Sims, Coming to My Life, and then we're going to come back on the other side and we'll continue our conversation with Naja Orr, who is the CEO and president of the Philadelphia Corporation of Aging. Stay tuned. Don't go nowhere.
Come into you see things. Together as one, not two, we shine like diamond ice. And I'll show you sweet melodies that you want in me. Because I can brighten up your days. And when you're feeling bad, I put a smile on your face. Hey, hey, can you tell me what price must I pay to make you see things? Come and go with me. Come into my life. I got so much love to show you. Come into my life, boy, I adore you. Come into my life. I got so much love to show you. Come into my life, boy, I adore you. Come into my life. I got so much love to show you.
Welcome back to the Did You Know Show. My name is Brian Green. Today's show is sponsored by Always Best Care Senior Services. I want to remind our listeners that you can check me out on Channel 4 and Channel 798 and HD on Saturday mornings at 7 a.m. in Pensy and Jersey. And down in Delaware, we're on Channel 190 and Channel 7 and a host of channels down there we run through the week now. So check us out. The Did You Know Show is on TV. Again, it's centered around connecting folks to home, community, and business resources that you ordinarily wouldn't know about. You're listening right now to the Did You Know Show on WURD, WRD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM. We're streaming live on WordRadio.com, and today's guest is the strong leader, faithful servant leader, Naja Orr, who is the president, the new president and CEO of Philadelphia Corporation of Aging. And again, congratulations, Naja. And so, what would you recommend to older adults who are some of the most vulnerable right now to be safe during a pandemic?
I would say definitely follow those guidelines from the health department. Things like frequent hand washing. If you're not feeling well, definitely stay home and contact your doctor. If you do need to go out for any reason, make sure you're wearing a mask. Definitely practice social distancing. And then for everyone else, just to make sure that you're staying in contact with those older adults who are your loved ones. And as I mentioned a little earlier, if you can't do it in person, if you can't video chat either through Facebook, FaceTime, or some other video chat form, definitely just pick up the phone and make sure that you stay in touch with those older loved ones. And then last but not least, if I know that the heat has just recently started heating up for us now. We're getting into the swing of summer here. So for those individuals that if the city ever calls a heat emergency, if you need to look for those cooling sites, and make sure you contact us. Either look at our website or the city's website for related information regarding where those cooling sites will be for older adults.
And so when you say cooling sites, what does that mean, Naja? What does that mean, a cooling site? What is that?
So for instances where if the older adult is in the home and they may not have AC, then we want to make sure that they are in a safe environment during the day so they don't become overheated in their house or their apartment. So the city oftentimes designates a lot of locations throughout the city where older adults could go and cool off, whether it be libraries. Oftentimes the senior centers are used as cooling sites, oftentimes schools. So there just be designated locations throughout the day where people could go and really cool off and use those locations.
So you guys have a knit in your services, and I want to get to a couple of them. Again, I'm going to let you know right now I'm cheating because I have the PCA update right in front of me, but I know I'm talking to the person that's a subject matter expert on everything. But there's an article in here that says make sure seniors count in the 2020 census, and one of the snippets is, prior to the citywide stay-at-home mandate, PCA funded senior centers in partnership with the Generations Online and AARP Pennsylvania, and you helped to familiarize older adults with filling out the census online through on-site workshops. Generations Online is also providing digital tools at easycensushelp.org. That's still going on, right? You guys are still advocating for that, right, Naja?
Oh, absolutely. We couldn't stress enough the importance of making sure that people fill out the census in Philadelphia, because the people, as you fill out those census information, it really translates to dollars. So making sure that we have appropriate dollars for our nutrition programs and those Older Americans Act dollars that I mentioned earlier. So making sure that those dollars come to Philadelphia. In order for them to come to Philadelphia, it has to translate to people filling out those census forms.
So you talked a little bit about Philadelphia's had this first heat emergency this week. You got into that where they're going to go to the cooling sites. But are there any other key initiatives that PCA is working on that you can share?
Sure. I'd say right now we are in the midst of finalizing our 4-year plan. So right now, this next 4-year plan that we'll be submitting to the state will go from 2020 to 2024, and we really we're looking at 5 key goals that are really mimicking some of our goals after the state's goals. And I'll just touch on those goals just briefly. Goal number 1, making sure that we're promoting efficient and innovative best practices in the way that we provide services to our diverse communities, making sure that we're doing things like looking at our assessment tools and our partnerships and funding opportunities, and can we increase that funding to strengthen services to older adults. And I'd say goal number 2 is looking at ways that we can improve health disparities in older adults and engage promote active engagement in older adults. Really looking at those things that impact people in their community, things like nutrition or housing. How are we assessing those areas and making sure that we're connecting people to the right resources? The next one, I'd say, we're making sure that we want to continue to strengthen diversity and inclusion in our practices and the supports that we provide, making sure that they're done in a culturally sensitive manner. And that's definitely with partnering with more collaborative partners, strengthening those partnerships to ensure that the services we provide are done in a diverse and culturally sensitive manner. Next is looking at things like education and prevention, and then more specifically older adult protective services to make sure people are educated on things like elder abuse. And then the last goal is really just focusing on ways that we can become more informed. How can we do a better job of improving our business practices? And that's looking at our data and other things to really help us make better business decisions using technologies to help us do that. So we will definitely have some information up on our agency website regarding our agency's 4-year plan. You can find that at pcacares.org in the coming weeks once the state has approved our plan.
So when you talk about, and if you just tuned in, my name is Brian Green, and I'm talking to Naja Orr. Naja Orr is the new, well, nowadays, Naja, not so new. In this lifetime, you're new for about a week, and they're like, no, they expect you to be like the expert on everything. So Naja is the new PCA president and CEO, and, they have this great article in here when you say leadership during COVID-19, and when you're talking about it, and I'm going to bring you back to a couple of things. So one thing you mentioned earlier on, and the question has come about online, is the ombudsman program. Can you get a little bit into that? What is the ombudsman program a little bit about? Can you tell us about that, please?
Sure. Ombudsman program is for those individuals that have concerns or complaints about the long-term care services that they're providing. So it could be small complaint or large. If there's any concerns or complaints that people have, we ask people to contact our office, and then we connect them with the ombudsman. And the ombudsman's role is really to just investigate or look into that complaint and find out ways that we could rectify it for that older adult. oftentimes working with other collaborative partners. Oftentimes, if it's a little bit more of a severe situation, we often have to make sure that the right resources are put in place for that individual. But it's really just resolving any complaint or concern that that individual has, more specifically even for those individuals that are in long-term care facilities like nursing homes.
Okay, so there is an advocacy out there for the seniors, and I just wanted to let people know, because oftentimes as a home care agency, and I'm sure a lot of my peer groups, a lot of other home care agencies, we get a lot of calls, and we're trying to connect people to resources. Sometimes we have to stay in our own lane because you have to connect people to resources that can really investigate the allegations. And in Philadelphia, there are allegations and entanglements. I'm going to leave it there. But the people that are listening and the people that answer that question, if you want to call PCA, that number is 215-765-9040. And you have a NITNI, a voice response system that will direct you to the department that you need to talk to. They are open, Naja, and that's just your part. You guys are open to take calls when?
We're open to take calls generally from the hours of 8 a.m. until 5, but we're there generally till 6 o'clock. But if there's any questions about older adult protective services, we take those calls 24/7.
Can you tell us, Naja, a little bit more? You're good at giving snippets. I must say, you pivot and navigate really well. But if possible, can you tell us a little bit more about your four-year plan and the process involved?
Sure, absolutely. So we generally, for all of the area agencies on aging, including PCA, the guidelines typically come from the feds, and they usually submit those guidelines to the state aging offices. Really, just what are the guidance that they want those states to follow, and then the area agencies on aging must follow similar guidelines as well. So once the feds put that out, and the state, of course, followed suit, they gave us general paths that they wanted us to follow, and that helped us shape the 5 goals that I mentioned a little earlier. So we know that first we started off with just looking at stakeholder input. So we had an opportunity to interview staff, our advisory council, and our board. And the goal after that was to really get out in the community and do some stakeholder groups with people in the community. But of course, we got hit with COVID-19. So instead of doing those face-to-face stakeholder meetings, we wound up doing online surveys instead. Then, just actually last week on the 16th, we had our public hearing to really go over those goals with people in the community, just to make sure that they understood the direction we're wanting to go in, and if they wanted to provide input as well. Our final plan will be due to the state on August 1st, and then we'll be awaiting for approval from the state, and then we'll put it up on our agency's website. So looking forward to that plan finally coming to fruition, and that'll take us into the next 4 years till 2024.
Wow. We have so much information, in here. I want to give a shout out while I have you on the phone. I think it's appropriate to do so. You got Shanice Spivey, who was named the Vice President of HR, Diversity and Inclusion, and also the very, very energetic Wanda Mitchell is named the Director of Community Services. And I'm not going to stop there. Again, we mentioned that Lewis is going to be, our old head is leaving. I know he's listening, probably going to be mad and say, oh, old head. But my mature head is retiring, and it's nice to see you guys give him his flowers, kind of before he goes. But then you guys also, Executive Care Connections Executive Director Ann Danish, she retired. You got long-term care assessment director Betty Jo Robinson, who's a sweetheart, and then program manager director Pat Fernero. And I just do that because you can appreciate that it takes a team, it takes a village to continually, help a village. There's an article in here about the board officer, PCA board officer elected to the Optometry Hall of Fame, Satya B. Verma. You guys got so much information, and we as an organization obviously support you, and we learn and we wait oftentimes from organizations like CMS, The regulations, and right now, at one point when we had the COVID, we had so much going on. We're connected with the Pennsylvania Home Care Association. I sit on that board. A couple other organizations, notably, is the Alzheimer's Association, Lupus Foundation, liver cancer. And you guys also, and this is where you and I used to share the podium before you became president. We used to be kind of on a tour with the, PCA celebrates the arts and ages.
Yeah.
And you guys do stuff around the city of Philadelphia in terms of recognizing that. And it's my understanding that the festival has been rescheduled for September. You guys got so much. Can I get you to tell us anything on upcoming events? I know this is unscripted, and I've been cheating reading this book. But are there any upcoming events? I know, and I guess it's and to give you a pass on that question is a difficult question because I know, like anything else in this current state, everything's kind of tentative. But I gotta, and Naja, because me and Naja talk like this. Naja, I got hit on my credit card by the Sixers. So I was like, well, what did that mean? Did that mean we're gonna have a season? Like I've been going back and forth with my rep, and all of a sudden y'all hit my credit card. Ain't nobody sent me an email or nothing. I gotta get on my rep and let her, find out what's going on. But when you think of the upcoming events for the PCA, are you guys? And I think you said that things have been canceled, but are you hoping that we can get some normalcy like everybody else with any events coming up?
That's a great question. I know that we're still kind of trying to figure out what that new normal, as everybody's talking about, what that new normal is going to look like for us. So we've continued to follow guidance from the state and continue to put safety first. So our face-to-face events, meetings, and that kind of stuff have been canceled, but we're trying to do a lot more virtually now. So that celebrate arts and aging that you mentioned. So instead of that being a face-to-face where we'd be at different locations throughout the city, people being able to see the art in person, we're going to do that online. So we will have information up on our agency's website very soon where you could see virtual the artwork for the arts and aging program. And then also we're looking at things like our gala, which is typically our largest fundraiser of the year. We're looking, instead of doing that in person, having obviously several hundred people in the room where we'd be out of compliance with the health department, we're looking at doing something virtual this year. So that way we could still make sure that we're connecting with our collaborative partners and our donors, just to let them know we're still here, still supporting them and those that need us in the community. So those are the things we're starting to transition to, looking at doing things more virtual until we're at a safer place.
Okay.
Then we'll talk about doing things more in person.
Naja, I've been holding people off of myself. I'm holding you selfish to myself, but we do have a caller. We have Penn from Mount Airy. Is that right? Penn,
yes.
How you doing? Welcome to the show. You're on Word, and you have a question for Naja or myself?
I have a question for both of you. And listen, I couldn't hear it all, but I heard some of it. And I'm pleased that you're so young, Mr. Orr. I don't know how old you are, but you're not 80. So that's good to know. I said I was going to leave my number with the producer because I really kind of got to talk to both of you. And I don't want to leave you all on a negative note, but I've had difficulty with the, what do you call it, the home care program as well as PCA. So I'm hoping that maybe by speaking with you all, I can clear it up.
Well, if we're going to put you back on hold,
okay.
and Penn, if you leave your number, and one of us will have somebody in our leadership team follow up with you. Is that fair?
You all are the bosses. I want to talk to you all. I promise not to take too much time. I want to talk to you all.
We will make sure you get handled. You got my word. We'll make sure you get handled.
All right.
Thank you for calling in.
Absolutely.
All right. We have Lewis from Chadford, Pennsylvania is calling in. Welcome to the show, Lewis.
Hello, and I want to talk to the boss as well.
Is that our Senior Vice President of Operations on the phone?
Listen.
Listen, I want to say thank you to Mr. Green for the shout-out and for the reference to Morehouse College. I certainly appreciate it. But this question is for both Mr. Green and for Mr. Orr. When you think about the new crop of college students who are coming up, and I would like for you all to share with us, what do you think, what kind of advice would you give somebody who is thinking about a career in the field of aging Or what kind of advice would you give somebody who is a senior in college to get them to consider a career in the field of aging?
Wow. I'm going to give I'm going to respond first and then let Naja take it because you guys are, I've become the expert. It's interesting. I was just asked this question by a group of my frat brothers actually on a business tip. But I often say that for me, I tell young people that I have 2 degrees, but my foundation of dysfunctional experience in my life, which I, now really, really, really cherish the moments that I had. I realized that everybody didn't grow up with Big Mama, and for me, because I was a result of a teenage pregnancy, that I had not only Big Mama, I had Big Mama's mama. And I didn't realize, like so many people probably don't realize, that I was a caregiver. I am a caregiver. And, my advice to seniors, first of all, college folks, make sure that you're taking advantage of the career placement. Make sure that you have a somewhat of a 2-year plan, short-term, long-term, but hone in on your skills of selling yourself as to why somebody should select you as opposed to somebody else. Now, for the field of coming out with something close to the aging community, I try to encourage everybody to just help the community that is aging, because this world is aging very quickly. 10,000 Americans turn 65 every day, so it is definitely an opportunity. So I'll stop there, and because we're winding down the show, and Naja, I'll let you take it from there. We're going to close out the show with you, Naja. Go ahead.
Okay, good. Thank you. So I'd say I definitely echo just to make sure that you get in touch with your college career development offices so that way they can connect you with different agencies that would support older adults. But easiest thing, pick up the phone, call your local area agency on aging. You can get on their website, see what jobs are available. As we oftentimes hear about aging in place, we hear about initiatives that focus on older adults. It's good for even younger folks or folks just coming out of college to help shape that path so that way, using myself as an example, what things would I like to see in place and what could I do to advocate for continued services, because I certainly want to make sure they're around when I need them one day. So definitely contact your local area agency on aging, and that could be one of your first steps as well.
Well, that's, when you have a good guest like that, we go through the hour very quickly. Naja, I want to thank you for freeing yourself up to come in and give us all kinds of information about the PCA, Philadelphia Corporation Aging. Thank you for our callers. Penn, we're going to get back to you. And our mentor, Lewis, I just really can't get my head wrapped around you leaving us. We're not going to stop calling you, right? So don't think because you retire and you're just going to go somewhere and be a recluse. Not going to let that happen. I already know Naja feels the same way. I ain't got to say it twice.
That's right. On speed dial.
I ain't fooling around with you. We're not going to let you just disappear, fade into the sunset. That's not going to happen. But anyway, thank you all for listening to the Did You Know Show. I'm taking a break for next week. Next week I'm going to take a break. We're going to rebroadcast this show next week, the PCA show. That's what we're going to call it. And I want you all to stay safe, stay hydrated, wear your mask. It's not an option. And really get prepared to vote. Take a friend to vote. And, rest in peace, rest in heaven. Emmett Till is his birthday today. And again, if you want to call the PCA, you can call them at 215-765-9040, or you can visit PCAcares.org. Thank you, Naja. Have a great day. Thanks, Lewis. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you, Brian.
All right.
Girl, let me love you. Darling, I care for you more than my own self. Darling, I share with you all goodness and wealth. Said we can have just one night, or we can have one whole life if we play it cool.